Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Hames, and I'm the Associate Vice President for Digital and Social Strategy at 3Enrollment Marketing. We're here to talk today about your enrollment projections. What if you knew your enrollment in 2027, in 2028, in 2029? What if you could just have that data at your fingertips? That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm joined by my colleague, Erin. Erin, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, Matt. Nice to be here again. My name is Erin Craig. I serve as the Associate Vice President for SaaS Solutions and Account Executive here at 3Enrollment.
Awesome. Just a quick aside, we're launching a recipe book at 3E. Did you see that? And are you going to submit a recipe? I'm thinking about what recipes to submit, but we're gonna make a recipe book for all of our difference makers to just share their recipes. So I'm just wondering. I know we didn't prepare for this question. I'm just wondering if we're going to submit a recipe.
Well, now that you put me on the spot, obviously, yes, of course. Give me a moment as to what it will be.
You don't have to
I
say
may
what
have
it is.
to,
I haven't
yeah,
decided yet either.
as a native upstate New Yorker, I may have to throw in some, something to my affinity, if you will, to hot, spicy buffalo chicken wings. But we'll see.
Oh,
We'll
that's
see.
awesome. That's great. All right, enough about that. Let's talk about enrollment projections. So the title of this video is What If You Knew Your Enrollment in 2027? And that is what's called a run rate. Can you tell us a little bit more about what a run rate is?
Yeah, so I'd like to kind of start with the essence of what this SaaS platform is. It's our forward IQ forecasting. What it really does from our viewpoint is it gives a more realistic enrollment plan for really up to 7 years out, Matt,
Yeah, yeah,
based on
right.
historical data, but using, again, a futuristic future lens um, component that isn't always historically based. And why that's important is we have for far too long in higher ed done all of our modeling based on historics.
Right.
And candidly, we know that's just not good enough. Institutions are falling short, both in terms of headcount goals, but most importantly, net tuition revenue. So, what the run rate module within Forward IQ Forecast affords those that are on the platform is that 7 year look into, based on again your data, but then we blend that with important market conditions, things like college going rates, migration rates. We know the volatility with also the value proposition that's happening in higher ed. All those market conditions that really, frankly, predictive modeling doesn't afford for. So it gives you a realistic look 7 years out based on what we know and what you have seen historically, where you can anticipate your enrollment year over year. And we know that type of planning is so critical, especially given the complexity of what is happening in higher ed.
Okay, so typically what you're saying is that typically institutions of higher education have used historical data only to predict the future. And what you're saying is that when you only use historical data of your own historical data, your own enrollment data, what you're missing are such important elements like the college going rate in states around you or migration rates or those kinds of things. So you're saying all of that data is put into one place in order to project enrollment.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you're basically extrapolating both. You're taking the history, which we know has relevance, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But you're blending it with this forward-looking lens. You're extrapolating a point of data sets to have a more accurate prediction of what these numbers you will see. And the reality is, and I've heard this far too many times. My mentor used to say it to me when I was a young practitioner that the definition of insanity, right, is doing the same thing and
Yeah,
expecting a different
yeah.
result. And frankly, that is what is happening for practitioners, is that this is a tool that is more common and perhaps more well known within the Fortune 500. It's our belief, and it's kind of the essence of 3E, is that we take practitioners from all different backgrounds and blend it, because we realize higher ed needs to evolve. And the beauty of this tool is that it is a self-service. You can upload data. It's as easy as a drop and drag. We want you to regularly refresh your data, because the more that you input, the better the output.
So I want to unpack something that you just said. The Fortune 5 companies use run rates pretty consistently, because on a typical board, the board of trustees on a typical board will be people from Fortune 500 companies who have used a run rate on an annual basis and even more throughout the year to check whether or not they're meeting their objectives. Like, this is just a normal way to do business. So for higher ed to not have this would create a disconnect in the conversations with the VP of enrollment and their board, because the board is saying, what's the
Why
run
can't
rate?
you?
Yeah.
Right.
And the VP of enrollment is saying, what is the run rate? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, this is something that doesn't exist in higher education, and we're bringing it to higher education. So can you talk about the scenario planning, and then
Yeah.
just checking to see whether or not you're on goal, like whether or not you have a scenario and whether or not you're meeting your goal?
So this is a very humbling platform, because often, what users are seeing is they're putting their data in, we're running our run rate, and oftentimes the results are they're not going to get to their goal.
Yeah.
So by doing that, we have the next natural transition is our simulator. It's our scenario simulator. And I like to call it the what if, where
Yeah, the
you
what
can
if
go
machine.
in and you can look at, say, your primary or dominant markets, as we call them. And you can say, we have to expand to new markets. How am I going to do this? Am I going to recruit X amount in marketing dollars? Am I going to consider a regional representative? And you can go in through the scenario simulator, create as many as you want. In fact, that's the beauty of it, is we want you, it is a self-service. So the intent is to get in, play with the data, and get to the number ultimately you need to provide both your president, CFO, and board. And through those different scenarios, right, be able to make those important resource
Yeah.
commitments. Because that's always the question, Matt.
Yeah.
I used to get it too. I remember my president saying, Aaron, if I give you $50,000 more in marketing, how many students am I going to get? I couldn't
Right.
answer that question.
Yeah.
Now I
Right.
can.
Yeah. And so now you can say, if your president says, what do you need to meet your goals? You can say, okay, if we hire somebody to go into this new market, if we spend more money in this market, generating awareness, et cetera, those are things that you can put into ForwardIQ Forecast and see the results of that moving forward. So you can
And
answer
change
those
your run
questions.
rate. Yep.
Yeah, and your run rate. And so instead of having a disconnected conversation with your board when they say, so how does enrollment look next year? And you're just like, it looks pretty good based on historical data. What you can instead now say is, we have a run rate and ran some scenarios. And if you invest here and here and here, we will achieve or overachieve our goals.
And we know, I mean, it's so hard between the Chronicle and Inside Higher Ed, the conversations of, the looming demographic cliff. We like to call it a demographic shift here at 3E.
Yeah.
But if I may, these are the questions. I mean, your board is seeing the headlines as well. So
Yep.
it does give you that opportunity to say, our primary and even maybe our secondary markets, or gain, where you have recognition, but maybe not the same reputation, that's simply not enough. We need to start investing here. We need to make those, lean on, say, marquee programs where we know we have a strong reputation and strong demand, right? And we're going to go into new markets promoting these programs. It allows you to have those, again, critical resource conversations to ensure that you're not falling short. And I think that's the preponderance this year. We
Yeah.
knew about the FAFSA simplification, but frankly, no one knew the impact. And
Yeah.
so we are seeing and hearing from many institutions that, headcount isn't what they expected. And
Right.
Forward IQ Forecast would have been a tool, or rather the platform they need to have better prepared for that and not be, unfortunately, in the situation that many institutions are in this cycle.
So somebody uses this solution. They put their data inside of it. They create a what if scenario, and they present that to the board. How do they use this tool to measure whether or not they're being successful?
Great question. And I'm really excited because the natural bookend in my mind, and having been, in the enrollment seat for so long, was I used many different ways of tracking it through my CRM, but oftentimes multiple spreadsheets. We have a feature module now called Pace to Goal. And it's
Okay.
really that accountability. You can slice and dice it however way you want, but really at the point of applicant down. So, what I consider, the point of admission, accept, and to deposit and enroll. It allows you that week to week, month to month comparison of where you need to be to ultimately get to your goal. And as a practitioner, like, that's so important because we know we often have to make mid-cycle adjustments. Sometimes things, again, market conditions are outside of our control. So this
Yeah.
affords us that accountability to, again, insert different strategy, different tactical, say, focused with recruiters or wherever it may be, financial leveraging, to
Yeah.
try to, again, change the outcome.
Look, I'm an English major. I'm a writer. I've never used a run rate in my life. Like until this product, this solution came out, I didn't even know what a run rate was. I was one of those people guilty of not knowing it. So what happens that, like, if I'm even moderately convinced right now that this is something that I should do, how can I see this in action? What are the next steps for somebody who is like, I don't know what this is. Can you tell me?
Yeah, so we obviously welcome an opportunity to demo the platform with you. I either myself, we do have a member of the sales team that, is very well seasoned at showing real case studies and use cases for the platform. I, for me, we also, I know on our website we have some really great webinars that are recorded. It's an opportunity to hear and see some other faces. Um, but to me, the beauty of it is to see it, to let us walk you through it, to reassure you that although it's a different, there's extreme value. And again, that's part of why I joined the 3E team, is that I was at an institution where I was being asked those questions, and candidly, I didn't have a tool like this.
Yeah.
So it was very hard. A lot of sleepless nights. Take away that worry, that ambiguity of not knowing.
So we
And
actually, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Erin.
no,
We're live on LinkedIn and we actually have a question. So
okay.
I represent a new school. How many years cycles of data would you recommend are needed to best benefit and to best use this tool? So
Yeah.
how much historical data do you need to best benefit this tool?
We typically ask for about 3 years back,
Okay.
but we work with you if for some reason data integrity is an issue with some partners. We will take less, but typically at least 3 years. But this is a new school. So, and those are conversations we could definitely have with our data specialists too.
Nice. Awesome. Well, definitely we're gonna put
Question?
the
I
link.
love it.
The question. So what somebody's watching. I'm gonna put a link to contact us and our profile so you can connect with Erin as well and just talk to her on LinkedIn. I'm gonna put a link in the comments below to fill out a form and we'll definitely get in touch with you. This is a newish category for higher education, but this is not a new category for your board. Your board knows what a run rate is. There are a lot of people at your institution who've probably never heard of a run rate. I'm one of those people. But it's time to really learn how data can help you tell stories about your future enrollment, not just in 2027, in 2028, and in 2029, and in 2030, and even in 2031. So talk to us about 3E Forward IQ Forecast, because this is the way to answer the question. When the board says, how is enrollment looking next year? You can say, not only can I tell you how it's looking next year, I can tell you how it's looking in 2029. And that turns you into more of a partner in strategic conversations with your board, and less like just a, I don't know, based on historical data, it's looking good.
Yep.
So talk to us. We can help. 3E Forward IQ Forecast. And now, Erin, I need to go and figure out what recipe I'm going to put in the 3E cookbook.
Yes, thanks, Matt. It's around lunchtime for me, so you made me especially hungry, but always a
Right.
pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, it was a great conversation. Take care, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.
Happy
Thanks.
Friday.
Happy Friday.